Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Evelyn, and I feel like this video needs some housekeeping, some disclaimers. So in case you were not aware, I am an English and creative writing major at the University of Iowa, go Hawks. I am an aspiring kidlit author. I have several projects that I am currently working on, full-length novels, that sort of thing, that I'm hoping one day will be published so that teens and children around the world can read my words and it'll be amazing. But before all of that, I spent a good portion of middle school and early high school writing a lot of fan fiction. I'm a really big believer in the power of fan fiction as a tool. I know that I would not be nearly as good of a writer as I am today if I hadn't been able to practice my craft playing around in other people's worlds. That's where my friends come in. You might recognize Olivia and Jacob and Sonia from my Baking with Books videos here on the channel. They are all also English and creative writing majors at the University of Iowa, and they're actually pretty used to reading my current work and giving me feedback on it. Thank you, you guys. I thought it would be really funny for them to read my early work, which is basically just like Doctor Who and Warrior Cats. This video was actually filmed all the way back in March when we were still all on campus. And then like 2 days later we left for spring break, and during spring break the University of Iowa decided that we were going to switch to virtual instruction, and so we have not seen each other basically since this video was filmed, which is why I took so long editing it, because every time I sat down to watch this footage of us together and happy and having fun before everything got really bad, it just made me a little bit sad. But the video is edited. I think it's really fun, if not just absolutely chaotic, and I hope that y'all enjoy watching it as much as I enjoyed filming it. These three are some of my favorite people in the world. I love them very much, and if you want to support them, you should go check out our blogs. We all have them now. I will put links in the description, but basically I have a blog now. It's called Here There Be Magic Writes, and I'm posting even more bookish content every fantastic Friday. That includes reviews of individual books, playlists inspired by different books, monthly wrap-ups, all the stuff that I don't do over here on the channel but like wish that I had been doing, so I just decided to write it down and post it. If you're interested in some really cool poetry and short stories, Jacob and Olivia share a blog called Oh My Word, where they post every Oh My Word Wednesday. And Sonia has a blog called Like Chicken Scratch, where she posts her work and also posts little essays and prompts about different topics in fiction and writing in general, and so that's really great as well. Like I said, links in the description. These people are amazing and they're going places, so you want to get on board now. I am in many ways very scared of going back to campus next month, but I'm really excited that I'm going to be able to see my friends' lovely faces, even if it is partially covered with a mask. But we can all enjoy all of our lovely faces right now. Let's get into the video.
On websites that I don't want to have my name.
Why Bob the Builder?
I've always done it.
What's the theme song to Bob the Builder?
Bob the Builder, can we fix it? Bob the Builder, yes we can!
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Evelyn, and I'm joined here today by Olivia, Sonia, and Jacob, who you may not have met depending on whether or not you watch us bake things. We are all English and creative writing majors here at the University of Iowa, aka the Writing University. And so we are highly trained in the art of giving feedback on writing. And I want them to hear my old fanfiction, basically. So they have very little idea about what they're gonna hear, but basically we're just gonna go through my greatest hits of fanfiction that I wrote and then posted on the internet. Starting with the most recent, or second most recent, which is Newt Scamander's Observations on the Human Species. This is posted on archiveofourown.org. It has 219 kudos and 4,152 hits. And it peaked in popularity when the second Fantastic Beasts movie came out. I started getting kudos again. I was like, what in the world is happening? So it is not canon anymore. Newt Scamander has never really had a group of friends before. Now that he has, he's realizing that humans can be just as beautiful and complex as the magical creatures he cares for, each with their own unique traits that can be both positive and negative. It's rather confusing, to be honest. Here are a few of his observations along with the stories behind them. I'm just going to read like one chapter from each of these. Sonia, yes, you had a comment?
When was this written? Maybe you.
Oh, this was last updated on the 18th of July, 2017.
Gotcha.
Sounds good so far.
There's a note from Newt at the beginning. In all my time spent studying the I'm not going to do an accent. I'm not going to do an accent. My brain was like, you should do an accent. No, I should not. Okay. In all my time spent studying the magical creatures of the world, I've never had much of a chance to study the habits of my fellow humans. Not terribly surprising, considering the fact that I've only ever been close enough to one person to consider him a friend. However, an interesting result of my time spent in New York is that I seem to have acquired 3 friends. Since many of my previous interactions with large groups of my peers have typically been negative experiences, it interests me to find that some human mannerisms I had previously interpreted as having negative meanings turned out to be very positive things when it comes to Jacob, Queenie, and Tina. So chapter 1 is called Laughter.
Like yourself, I'm Jacob.
You want to be Queenie? I don't know. I don't know that. I guess I'm more of a Tina than a Queenie.
Yeah.
Fine.
Wait, am I doing?
Yes.
Okay. Laughter. Prior to befriending Jacob, I was only familiar with 3 types of laughter. Mocking laughter, sympathetic laughter, and dismissive laughter. All of which I first observed during my time at Hogwarts. However, through close observance of my newly acquired friends, I have found that each of them laughs in their own unique way. Jacob laughs the most when he is nervous. I've observed that whenever he is lost for words, overwhelmed, or generally nervous, he laughs. It's a diversionary tactic, an attempt at seeming less terrified than he actually
Is this
is.
an assault?
I have noticed that he seems to do it. I have noticed that he seems to do it the most when talking to or about Queenie. I can only assume that something about her must terrify him very much. Speaking of the younger Miss Goldstein, she seems to always be laughing. Perhaps a more accurate descriptor would be giggling. Whenever she's happy or amused, the laughter seems to bubble up out of her. Due to her impressive mind-reading skills, she has a habit of bursting into giggles during moments of silence, having overheard a particularly amusing thought. Often one of her elder sisters. I'm starting to think it's their way of talking about me and Jacob when they don't want us to know. While her younger sister seems to be giggling her way through life, poor Tina Goldstein saves her laughter for special moments. Tina tends to express her amusement through small smiles and quiet chuckles. Moments of actual laughter are few and far between, but well worth the wait. In fact, we'd been friends for several months before I heard her laugh for the first time. Signed, Newt Scamander. Then under that, Newt Scamander in the Laughter Experiment. These are very involved. It was Jacob who managed it first. He was halfway through retelling the story of he and Newt's European adventure in the Central Park Zoo. Oh, right, there's footnotes. So sorry.
Oh.
Footnote. A story that never failed to make Queenie laugh, although she was in the habit of laughing at most of Jacob's stories, even if they weren't particularly funny. According to Tina, it's part of her own mating ritual.
Your own mating ritual.
Tina let out a very un-Tina-like giggle, which quickly dissolved into full-out laughter. You and the mating dance? And you're just so serious? It's funny. Usually Newt would have been bothered by someone laughing at him like that, but something about the way Tina laughed made him see how amusing the European mating dance must look to everyone else. Yeah, he chuckled. I suppose it is. Tina beamed at him, cheeks flushed from laughter, and he was hit with a sudden desire to hear her laugh again. Footnote. Newt failed to notice, but this was also the first time his friends had heard him laugh. I got lost. So Newt decided to conduct an experiment to figure out how to make Tina laugh. Another footnote because I'm evil. He could have just asked Queenie, but that felt like cheating.
Footnotes are interesting.
Wait, oh shit.
I don't know why I decided to do
Just
that.
put a comma.
I could have. Ask 2016 Evelyn.
Or parentheses.
Back before he'd been kicked out of Hogwarts, Newt was always getting himself into sticky situations that his classmates found amusing. He'd always been rather clumsy, and he'd observed that his classmates found it hilarious when he knocked over inkwells and goblets, or tripped. Footnote again. By the very classmates who found it so hilarious, of course.
It's the last footnote, guys.
Yeah.
We're done with footnotes.
And fell into cauldrons and down flights of stairs, even if he didn't do it on purpose. And of course, everyone had found his strange obsession with magical creatures odd. After much consideration, he decided the best plan of action would be to trip down the stairs while carrying a load of books. Jacob didn't approve of the plan. If you want to make her laugh, just tell her a joke or something. Newt knew from experience that people didn't find it very funny when he tried telling jokes. He also knew from experience that they did find it funny when he fell downstairs. He decided to go with what he knew. He just underestimated how long the flight of stairs was, and he'd forgotten how hard it is to catch yourself with carrying an armload of books. Two miscalculations which resulted in him hitting his head rather hard on the way down. "We ought to clean that cut up," she said, sitting him down at the kitchen table. She began bustling about the kitchen, grabbing bandages and a jar of ointment. "I wish Queenie were here," she fretted. "She's so much better at this sort of stuff." "Sorry, Tina," Newt mumbled sheepishly as she began to dab at the cut on his forehead with a damp cloth. "Hush," Tina said, pushing the jar of bright pink ointment across the table toward him. "Put this on that cut." "No, really, I'm sorry," Newt insisted, dabbing the pink salve onto his forehead. "There's nothing to apologize for," Tina said. "It was an accident." About that," Newt said. "It might not have been an accident." "What do you mean?" Tina asked, brow furrowing again. "You fell down the stairs on purpose?" "Something like that, yeah," Newt admitted. "Why?" "I thought it would make you laugh," he said, staring down at the table to avoid her angry gaze. "I'm glad you're okay," she said gently. Then she smacked him hard on the shoulder. "Don't ever do anything like that again. Why the hell would I find that funny?" "It seemed to amuse people back at Hogwarts," Newt explained. The anger on Tina's face melted away, replaced by a look of sadness and sympathy. "Oh, Newt," she breathed. "I might have miscalculated a bit," he admitted. "Tell me about Hogwarts." "I wouldn't know where to start. What have you already heard?" he asked. "I know you have 4 houses, just like Ilvermorny, but I don't know how you get sorted into them." "We've got a hat," Newt explained. "A hat?" Tina asked. "Yes, a sorting hat." "How does a hat sort you into houses?" Tina asked. "Well, it sits on your head and decides which house you should go into based on the thoughts it finds there," Newt explained. "It talks. Sometimes it sings." And at that, they both dissolved into laughter. The end.
I love that even though we've never discussed who we would be among the Fantastic Beasts characters, we immediately sorted ourselves.
We didn't even need the sorting hat.
We did not.
Updated March 6, 2016.
Oh no!
14.
Oh no, what?
14.
Tom Hanks and his wife have the coronavirus.
Oh my gosh!
No! This is terrible news indeed.
I was
He's
waiting for the
old.
first famous person to
How
get
old
it.
is that old?
But how old is
It's like 60-something.
That's kind of old.
They're in Australia right now.
Oh my gosh.
He's got
Boys.
healthcare on his wazoo. Keep it back.
Next we have Doctor Who fanfiction. This is Rose's Return.
I know nothing about Doctor Who. I know very, very little.
This is like
Jacob.
I watched the first season and
Okay,
the
so
first
you
episode of
know
the second.
The most between the two
Of the
us.
new.
I know. Well, I know the
like
basic.
the new, like the BBC, like
Yeah.
I've watched.
Yeah.
so like you watch
I know the
nine.
basic
Yes.
premise, and I know
And the
several of
first
the
episode
actors.
is
said, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Before
so
it
you
actually
know
got-
traveling
You know
Rose,
Magic
Yes, yeah.
Doctor.
which is Rose.
Percy.
Yes, I know Rose.
You know
And
what
it was
happens to
spoofed in an
Rose?
episode
No.
of Island Freeze
Oh.
Law.
Well, you're about to find out.
Spoil! No!
Spoiler warning for a series that released in 2006.
It's still spoiling it.
Alright, originally published July 15th, 2014. Last updated March 6th, 2016. It has,
So this, you started it in freshman year?
Oh my goodness.
I don't know how many hits it has, but it has 95 reviews and 186 favorites and 283 follows.
Who was a freshman in 2014, Olivia?
Okay, you're right.
Oh, yeah, I just kind of
Eighth grade.
followed you around. Yeah, 8th grade.
I'm sorry, I don't know how to do math.
Yeah, I wrote 18 chapters.
30,000 words.
Yeah, this is 30,000 words. Rose Tyler has found a way to return to her universe. She promised herself that she wouldn't go looking for the doctor. She never expected to run into him the very day she returned. Now she's been invited to travel with him again. There's just one teensy little problem. He doesn't know that it's her. Back in Pete's world, Rose regenerated. Somehow she's been turned into a time lady. Prologue. The doctor was going to die. He knew that, and so did his TARDIS. That didn't mean that didn't meant that the ship wanted to be sent away any more than Rose did. The TARDIS knew that the doctor loved Rose. That was why he'd sent her away, so she'd be safe. He hadn't dared hope that she'd return these feelings. Of course Rose loved the doctor, just as much as he loved her. That was why she fought so hard to get back to him. How could she have known that looking into the heart of the TARDIS would kill her? Once the vortex was in her, there was no way to save her. God, you would not know what's happening if you had not seen this show, would you?
No,
Surely
we don't.
none of you knew this. Of course, that didn't mean he wouldn't try. He sacrificed his ninth regeneration to save her, yet she was still going to die.
I saw that.
So, the TARDIS decided to do something drastic. Not even she knew if it would work. She changed Rose. Rose had wished she could stay with the doctor forever, and now she could. The TARDIS made her into a time lady. By doing this, Rose was saved. The TARDIS told no one. No one could know. Not even Rose, and especially not the doctor. She cloaked the pink and yellow human and decided that she would explain once she died. But Rose didn't die with the doctor. She died in a parallel universe, hit by a drunk driver only a year after Bad Wolf Bay. She died in a hospital, still not knowing that she was no longer human. He's reading over my shoulder parts that I'm not reading. Chapter 1, in which our heroine dies.
No, it actually says beep.
That was the sound of Rose Tyler's death. Jackie began to sob into Pete's shoulder. She wouldn't have wanted to go out that way, Jackie wailed. She'd have wanted to go out with a bang. Rose's body exploded into flames. Jackie screamed in terror and scrambled to hide behind her husband. The light slowly subsided and Rose sat up with a groan. It was like I got hit by a bus. Both Jackie and Pete stared at the woman in front of them. What did you do to Rose? Pete asked finally. The woman blinked at them. What do you mean? I'm Rose, she insisted. Your face, it's gone. Jackie whimpered. Rose Tyler was gone. In her place, there was a stranger. This new girl had pale skin with freckles scattered across her nose and cheeks. Her hair was red and it ran in loose ringlets down her back. Her eyes were sky blue and framed with long lashes.
Isn't this the end of Bolt?
Yes, it's the ball. Oh, I'll kill him. Rose looked at her mother. Kill who? She asked. That bloody alien. Somehow this is his fault. You got him changed your face just like him. You regimentated. Jackie fumed. You mean the doctor? He only regenerated because he's a Time Lord. I'm human. Humans don't regenerate. Rose frowned. She hopped off of her hospital bed. She found that her hospital gown was suddenly too big. Holding her gown up with one hand, she marched across the room and snatched a stethoscope from the table. She put the medical instrument on and placed it to her chest. Oh my God! Her eyes widened in terror and she dropped the stethoscope. Jackie was hovering behind her. What? What is it? She asked. Double heartbeat, Rose said faintly before her eyes fluttered shut and she crumpled to the floor, unconscious. There's a time jump here. There's no indication that there's a time jump here. And Mickey appears from nowhere. Oh wow, you really do have two hearts, Mickey said intelligently, as if he'd been in the room the entire time. Rose rolled her eyes at him behind his back. Idiot, she said teasingly. You think I don't know how many hearts I have? The sound of her voice made her wince. Everything had changed. She didn't even recognize her own voice anymore. She'd had Mickey scan her to confirm her suspicions. She had in fact been turned into a Gallifreyan. Basically in this one, she goes back to her universe, then immediately accidentally runs into the doctor, gets invited to be his companion, doesn't know how to turn him down, ends up flying around with him for a while, and I was aiming toward him finding out and feeling betrayed or whatever, but I just never finished it.
Well, I have seen a development between Yeah, the two. Yep.
Okay, so next is more Doctor Who. This is all in the TARDIS, a collection of Doctor Who one-shots. I'm gonna let you pick which one we read. There's 3 here. Bad Wolf Meets Werewolf,
I
which
understand that
is,
reference.
in fact, a Doctor Who Harry Potter crossover.
Oh.
Perfect Date, or Accident Prone.
I want the crossover.
Okay.
I didn't really have a preference.
There is no title here, but it's Bad Wolf Meets Werewolf. Lupin's point of view.
Uh-oh.
Remus sat alone on the steps of Sirius's old house. He had considered returning to his flat, but he'd been cooped up there for days. It was nice to get a bit of fresh air. He hadn't wanted to leave. He'd been forced to due to lack of food, but now that he didn't want to go back. He watched the children playing on the playground across the street. This only served to remind him of the childhood he'd been robbed of. In a way, it was strangely calming. He used his time to think, even though that's practically the only thing he'd been doing since the term had ended. After he'd almost killed 2 of his favorite students, one of them who just happened to be the son of his best friend, he had tried to lock himself away from the rest of the world. He had been convinced that by doing so, he was protecting the people around him. In reality, he was only making himself very lonely. Rose's point of view. Can you tell what my favorite character was? Stay where I can see you, okay? Don't cross the street without looking both ways first. In fact, don't cross the street at all. I'll be right over here. Rose rolled her eyes. Mom, I know the playground rules.
Wait, I have a question because I don't know.
Yes.
Was Jackie the mom in the last one and the kid in this one?
No, Jackie is the mother of both of them.
Rose is a child?
Rose is a child in this.
Okay, didn't know. Got it.
She couldn't help but notice the man sitting across the street. He looked lonely, and Rose felt the urge to go talk to him.
No!
Her mom What is the name used? Her mom was still chatting with a group of mothers near the park entrance with her back facing Rose. Rose guessed that she had at least a good half an hour before she began talking.
Oh my god!
More than enough time to go talk to the man.
Oh my god.
Listen, that is in character for Jackie Tyler. The man was sitting with his head in his hands. His clothes were threadbare and dull, and his hair was a scruffy mess.
And his hair.
It's a typo, don't give me that credit. This didn't bother Rose one bit. She sat down on the steps next to him. Hello. The man lifted his head to stare at her. He seemed genuinely surprised to see her sitting next to him. Hello, he said with a weak smile. Rose stared at him for a while before deciding that she liked him. His hair was dull brown and his face is covered in stubble. Why did I just switch? I just switched from was to is for some reason.
I'm more concerned that she's like noticing his stubble.
His eyes are kind yet sad. There are lines in the corners from smiling. Why are you sad? Rose asked him after a moment of silence. He looked at her for a second before laughing. I suppose it's because I'm lonely, he said. What is your name? He asked her. Rose Tyler, she answers.
That's a
And
good way.
the last name too.
Rose took the yellow chalk before handing him the rest. Now you're not lonely. What are you doing?
It was messed up.
Okay. Now you're not lonely, she informed him as she plopped out on the sidewalk near his feet. You got me! Rose looked around the park. Jackie Tyler was nowhere to be seen. She's not here, Rose stared.
No.
It's okay, she's probably just looking for you, Remus assured her. Where do you live? He asked. I can take you home if I have to. Rose told him, and he nodded. I know where that is.
Yes!
I can take you there, he offered. Rose shook her head. I went to find my mom, she insisted. Excuse me, did you say you were looking for Jackie Tyler? Remus turned to see the woman who had spoken. She had shoulder-length blonde hair and brown eyes. The man standing next to her had dark brown hair and was wearing a blue pinstripe suit. He nodded. This is her daughter, Rose. She's a bit lost. Rose gripped his hand tighter and tried to hide behind his leg. She's a bit shaken up, he explained. The woman nodded. I know. Well, I understand, she told him. We know Jackie, she added quickly. We saw her just a minute ago. Remus smiled. Really? Where? He asked her. We really should be going, the man in the suit began. Just over there, we can show you, the woman said, cutting him off. Rose followed behind Remus as the strange woman led them through the crowd. She saw her mother before her mother saw her. She was sitting on a bench with her head in her hands, similar to the way Remus had been sitting when she'd approached him. Mom, she exclaimed, letting go of Remus's hand and pushing past the two strangers to run toward her. Rose! Jackie jumped up and scooped her daughter into a hug. I was so scared, I thought I'd lost you. Rose buried her face in her mother's shoulder. I'm so sorry, she repeated over and over. When she finally let go, Jackie turned to Remus and the two strangers. Thank you so much. I don't know if I'd have ever found her without you helping her like you did, she said to the strange woman. Oh, we didn't do much. We were just passing by. It's this man you should be thanking, the woman told her, motioning toward Remus. We'd better be going now anyway, the man added. At least tell me your names, Jackie insisted. We really should be going, the woman told her with a sigh. Please, Rose asked quietly. The woman turned to look at her. Her eyes softened and she kneeled down so she was face to face with Rose. You can call me Bad Wolf, she said. Older Rose's point of view, and then in parentheses, surprise! That was a very dangerous thing to do. You could have changed your own timeline, the doctor said. Remember what happened last time? Rose sighed. Last time was different, she said. The doctor didn't seem to agree with her as he went into a lecture on the dangers of crossing one's timeline. Rose just sat on the jump seat, not really listening. Finally, he sat down next to her. Who was that man? He asked her. His name was Remus Lupin, Rose told him. And he's very lonely.
Except by this time, he's dead.
So
So not only is he lonely, he's also dead. The story had mild, like, pedophilia about it.
100%! I
Yeah.
never intended for that. Okay. This is
Sure.
Camp Keeper, The Quest for Magic. This is a Percy Jackson. Yes, y'all are aware.
Yeah.
I don't know Percy Jackson.
And then
No?
The Kingdom Keepers by Ridley Pearson.
I've heard of
Anyone
that,
else?
yeah, I've heard
okay.
Heard of that, but
Crossover! What if it turned out that the Kingdom Keepers were all demigods, and what if the Overtakers teamed up with the Giants to help defeat them? Simple premise. This was first published February of 2014. It was last updated May of 2014.
So this is all, like,
You didn't read the
Seventh
last
grade,
part
like
of the
seventh
summary.
Oh, really bad summary, just please read it. Dillard was running out of time. He had 3 days before he left for New York, 3 days before the emergency extraction, and he still hadn't told them. That was why he was throwing a party. 5 keepers plus 2 fairlies, 7 demigods. Not the greatest number, especially for an extraction, especially 7 very important demigods. Let's play Truth or Dare, Charlene had suggested. They'd all agreed, the boys rather begrudgingly, and Charlene had started. Amanda, Truth or Dare? She'd asked, grinning. Amanda had thought about it for a while, weighing the pros and cons before selecting Dare. I dare you to sit in Finn's lap, Charlene said, giggling. And then it switches to Amanda's point of view, so we can get a close-up of the lap sitting there. Amanda blushed bright red and nodded. She glanced at Finn, who shrugged. Why not? He said. She bit her lip and stood, walking over to where Finn was seated cross-legged on the floor. She sat down on his lap. She leaned back against his chest and wrapped his arms around her waist.
Were you projecting?
What do you mean?
This lap sitting thing. Did you have something for lap sitting?
No.
Okay.
I just never went to parties. I don't know what people do at parties. Dillard, Truth or Dare? She asked. He selected Truth. She noticed his hands were shaking. What's your biggest secret? She asked. He opened his mouth to answer when a crash came from above as if something large had landed on the ceiling and a small boy fell into the fireplace.
Oh.
Hazel had been excited when she had found out they were going to Florida. It was the perfect place for lessons on being modern. Oh, yeah, for those of you who are unaware, Hazel
I'm aware.
died in the 1930s and then came back to life in the mid-2010s.
Right.
Oh.
And she's like 12 or 14.
And how did
Yeah,
that
she's 14.
Her dad is Hades.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just go with it. I don't know. It never made
The
a lot of
doors
sense.
of death were open because Thanos.
Because they screwed
Not
something
Thanos.
up.
Well, it sounds like it though, right?
Thanatos.
Thanatos, there we go. Thanatos had been
Thanatos.
kidnapped by
Oh,
giants. The plan had been simple. Travel to Florida, get there 3 days early so they could have a few days of downtime in Orlando, then on the 3rd day pull off the extraction and head back to New York. Simple.
Simple.
It had been Piper's idea to go to Disney. Most of them had had strange childhoods, the most normal being Frank's, and none but Piper had been to a Disney park. Leo and Annabeth on the run, Jason at camp, Percy's mom working 2 jobs to keep them fed, not to mention Smelly Gabe, Frank in Canada, and Hazel dead.
really gay cameo.
Hazel and Frank had been staying at Port Orleans Resort. Hazel nearly cried when they got there. It reminded her so much of her old home. It had been a magical hour and a half. Then they were attacked. Dr. Facilier had attacked both Hazel and Frank while they were exploring the resort. Similar things had happened to others. Percy and Annabeth were found by Ursula, Jason and Piper by Jafar. Leo had been on the Arbor too, having gone back after checking into his room. They had overlooked him.
Always.
This is Leo's character.
Yeah.
This is Leo. Guys.
He's the seventh wheel.
Guys.
No, it's literally
It's
canonically
true.
in
It's
the
true.
book.
He's
Rick
the
calls him
seventh
the
wheel.
seventh
Not even
wheel.
right.
Hazel felt them start to descend. Suddenly they plummeted and hit the ground hard. There was a very audible crunch, and when Hazel looked out the window, the stern of the ship was laying on the roof of a house. Leo fell overboard. He pointed off the side of the ship and into the chimney. Hazel didn't question how it was possible. They were talking about Leo. Jason and Piper emerged from behind Hazel. Well then, Piper said, we can't exactly go and ring the doorbell, can we? Hazel nodded. She was pretty sure that it would still be weird to crash a flying ship into someone's house, then walk right up and ring the doorbell as if nothing happened. The voice is still there! Like, I know this was weird in the 30s, I'm sure it'll still be weird now. Then we'll have to follow him, Percy said. It switches to Willa's point of view for some reason. Willa screamed. She had been sitting in front of the fireplace, and when the boy had come crashing down like a tiny Santa Claus, she'd been showered in grime and ash. The keepers were on their feet in a heartbeat, all staring at the boy, who looked more like an elf than Santa himself. He was Latino, with curly black hair and pointed ears. He looked around at all of them and grinned. Willa noticed his eyes stayed fixated on her for a moment longer, as well as Charlene, although Willa couldn't tell if he was staring at Charlene's face or not. Oh my god, why did I Hello! The boy said, cheerfully, grinning mischievously and waving at the group. Willa saw Dillard out of the corner of her eye. His face was as pale as a sheet. Leo, you're early. I still haven't explained the situation, he stammered. The boy Leo just grinned. No worries, man. Uncle Leo can help tell the newbies. Tell us what? Willa demanded, finding her voice before the rest of the keepers. Leo opened his mouth, then shut it. Okay, maybe I'm not the best man for the job, he said, running his hand through his hair. Before anyone could respond, more ash rained down into the room as 5 more people came down it. One by one, each of them stood, brushing soot off their clothes and taking in the scene. Dillard looked like he was going to have a heart attack. Annabeth, you're 2 days early, he said. They don't know anything! The boy named Leo... Oh, sorry. They don't know anything, the boy named Leo put in cautiously. I don't have space. The blonde looked at the others who all nodded. Dillard, it'll have to wait. We were attacked. It isn't safe in Orlando. A boy with messy black hair and sea green eyes interrupted her. Annabeth, they deserve an explanation, he said, placing his hand on her shoulder. She rolled her eyes but nodded. He turned to the group. Hi. I'm Percy, he said. Lila rolled her eyes. Just tell us what's going on, she said. He nodded. Right. So, do you guys believe in gods?
I love how that's the opening question. It's not really important whether they believe or not.
I did not know what was going on the whole time.
Why was young Evelyn so obsessed with, like, Leo's fascination with the way everyone else looked? Except it wasn't from Leo's point of view, it was from someone else's point of view, interpreting the looks that Leo was giving to the young women.
I don't know. I know that Charlene in particular always, like, she's the pretty one. Willa's, like, jealous of her a little bit, canonically. So maybe I was trying to go for that. But I just made Leo look like a creep.
It was like, he was staring at her boobs.
I'm gonna skip the Warrior Cats Sisters Grimm crossover. Do you want to hear the Warrior Cats Into the Woods crossover, or should we just do the straight up Warrior Cats?
Just straight up
Which one is
warrior cats.
Oh no!
Olivia has no sense of balance. Put your head down.
Ah! This is Finding Fire. I had absolutely no plan for this, and you can tell.
Air.
Clearing.
Sorry.
You put a lovely commentary.
Yeah, well.
The clearing was silent. Countless cats were gathered there, waiting,
What?
The only movement came from a paw full of cats slowly moving from cat to cat, treating injuries.
Oh.
All of a sudden, a single cat stood. Her blue-gray fur shone in the dim light. Her bright blue eyes gleamed. She would have been beautiful if it weren't for the wounds scattered across her flanks.
What?
"They are coming," she announced. Many cats had died in the battle, and nobody moved through. My God, I couldn't spell sure.
Sure.
I'm sorry,
What?
Evelyn,
You literally
just so you know,
sure.
it's now 90 degrees.
90. It's so hot.
How is that possible?
I'm gonna die.
I don't understand! The first cat appeared, a gray thunderclan queen. Yowls came from behind the blue cat as the newcomer's family ran toward her.
1 second. The
Yes.
genre is family romance.
The
Okay.
genre is family romance.
Okay.
By that we mean incest.
Well, they're cats,
You can
so.
get, no, you can get two, you pick two like genres that it falls under. So it falls under.
She only picked one. Family romance.
Family and romance.
Incest. I don't think so.
She turned to see a light brown she-cat, no longer crippled with age, carefully getting to her feet. Before she could say anything, her old, once blind dinmate ran to her with her litter mate close behind.
The language in this is very cat.
The noise in the clearing had grown gradually louder, but suddenly it stopped completely. The blue she-cat turned to see a familiar ginger Tom a few fox lengths away. That is their measurement.
Is that the metric system?
Yeah, it is.
Tom stirred, moaning. He looked up at her, blinking. "Sister, where am I?" he asked faintly. "Welcome to Star Clan. Firestar." Bum, bum, bum.
So she murmured that.
She murmured. The silence was broken only by a rough-looking gray she-cat. "Well, are we just going to sit here, or are we going to pick who gives Brambleclaw his 9 lives?"
How do you get 9 lives? Or 9 lives?
Okay, so the leaders of the clans
Yeah.
get 9 lives.
Okay.
And they go, it used to be to Moonrock, but then they have to move, so now it's a pond. And they go into a trance, and in their dreams, they're visited by dead cats, the Star Clan cats that we're
Okay.
following right now. And each of them gives them a life in the ceremony.
Okay.
See, Jacob said orgy. I'm still
I'm sorry. That's how they get their 9th life.
And said, "Firestar, you are his mentor, leader, and somewhat of a father figure. You must give him a life." No one nodded. They didn't need to. Firestar glanced around at the cat surrounding him. Finally he said, "Yellowfang, you died in the fire that almost took his life. I could have saved you, but you insisted. Without..." There's a period in the middle of butt. "Without you, he would have died. You must give him a life."
You
With
must.
that, the chosen cats padded away together in a sad silence to await the arrival of Brambleclaw.
They went off to begin the orgy.
Like how we clapped after the first one, but
And
now
we
we
stopped.
Okay, so now that you've heard the
Ah.
fanfiction, do you have thoughts?
Um,
Closing thoughts?
I think that it's really cool that you were so dedicated to your craft for
Yeah,
so
you're
long.
right. I'm sorry. Be safe. Protection.
I think there was a little bit of implied pedophilia and a little bit of implied incest.
But other than that, it was some pretty solid stuff.
Thank you for sharing with us. It was fun.
Yes.
I have old fanfiction.
I have
Websites.
several old. They're not fan fictions, but they're old
What
stories.
did you write fanfiction for?
Oh, actually, sorry, I took that too. It's not even fanfiction,
Yeah.
is it? No.
I have old stories
It's
that are
old
not
stories
fan
that's
fiction.
on Wattpad.
Yeah, mine were on Wattpad, but I deleted my account, so I don't know where they are.
Might be worse.
I have them on my phone though, so
What?
we should all read ours.
Yeah,
at
we
some
should
point.
have our turn.
We should all have our turn.
No.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm willing to read mine. Mine's bad. I wrote some puppy place fan fiction.
Ah! Puppy Place.
It was not exactly. It was like Puppy Place, but adapted.
Comment down below. Did you guys read the Puppy Place books as a kid? Because
No.
Sonia and I did, but these two fuckers didn't know what I was talking
Okay,
about.
I
Lizzie
did
and
after
Charles
you
for
explained
life.
it. I remember seeing the covers. I know what the covers look like in my mind.
Dogs. They look like dogs.
Yeah, I know. I know what specific dog
Also-
I'm picturing though.
Shout out to Mary Pope Osborne
Yes.
for starting the, what did I say, 1994 is when she published the first
Oh my
Magic
God.
Treehouse book.
I don't
and
remember
she's
what she
still publishing
She's still
them.
publishing them though. Go you.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for participating. Oh God. If you like this video and you want to see more from my channel, remember to click that subscribe button and ring that bell icon so you can be notified whenever I upload a new video. If you want to see more of these guys, you should leave a big thumbs up so I know that you like their faces. With that being said, my name is Evelyn. I make new videos every magical Monday, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye. I can't hit the
Does that, what do you want me to do?
I can't cover it.
Here, I'll throw a pillow.
No!